So we're going to start off, and I'm going to try to tell you all the different shrubs that we're seeing here. The first one in front of us is the Sugar Tip Gold. This is a Rose of Sharon. It's got beautiful variegated foliage and lavender flowers. Next, we have the Oh So Easy. This is the Double Red Rose. If you're familiar with the Knockout Rose, this is a lot like that. The difference is the Oh So Easy roses are more disease resistant, and they still have that beautiful red double bloom that you come to expect with Knockout roses, but the disease resistance is what really makes these Oh So Easy roses stand out. Next, we're going to look here at the Arborvitaes or Thuyas. These are the Tater Tots. The thing I like about Tater Tot is that it's just such a nice small evergreen shrub. Really, the nice cylinders, the little balls that go in your garden, add a lot of whimsy into the garden, and I like that they're evergreen. So you can add little dots of color when other things aren't typically blooming. These tall shrubs here that we're looking at, these beautiful columnar shrubs, these are the Rhamnus fine line, bold and nice dense habit upright shrub. Here we have the hydrangea, Tough Stuff Aha. This is a beautiful hydrangea. Look at the double flowers here on each of these lacy looking blooms. This can change to pink to blue depending on what your soil condition is. Next, we see here the Arborvitae. This is Fluffy. I love the texture of Fluffy. It's so nice and airy, and that yellow color really stands out beautiful in the garden. In the back there, we have the Hydrangea, Invincible Wee White. And look at those beautiful blooms, just full coverage here. This plant, you can hardly see any foliage. It's just a mound of beautiful white blooms. In the back, we have the Arborvitae. Those are the North Pole. Very narrow, tall shrubs, great for hiding, maybe, like here they're hiding a air conditioner, but maybe you want to create hedging in your yard or a fence border to hide your neighbors. They work great for that, and they're evergreen. Here we have the 9-bark. This is the Summer Wine Black. Deep, dark, black foliage, and it looks beautiful up against these barberry citrus. The yellow chartreuse of the citrus with that black really make a stunning combination. In the back, behind the summer wine, is the Dervilla Orange, and even that, you can see the little touches of orange on the new growth standing out and creating really a beautiful look here in the landscape. These also have little yellow flowers, not super significant, but this plant can grow virtually anywhere, sun, shade, and it's deer resistant. Let's take a look at this new hydrangea here. This is the Invincible Lace. It's really a very open flower, very, very lacy. It's great for pollinators though, so all the pollinators can get into the little pollen areas, and it's a great plant. Pugster butterfly bush. Need I say more? These really stand out in the landscape. Look at those huge blooms, very compact, only 3 foot tall. This is Pugster Amethyst, and you can see even the butterfly there, the monarch, is really enjoying those beautiful blooms here on the Pugster butterfly bush. Here's a really neat looking hydrangea, and this one here is Mini Mauvette. You're going to see Mini Mauvette a lot in this garden, and I think Mini Mauvette is really just a great shrub for pretty much any landscape. Very compact, only about 2 foot tall, and bold, bright pink blooms. This is a really interesting bloom, a very large bloom. This hydrangea, I can't say the name of it quite yet, but this is one to look for in the future, so we'll be doing other videos on it. Here we have the Urban Legend Rose, and we can tell here that it's really past its first bloom cycle with all the spent blooms there, but we still see a little bit of color. This just needs to get deadheaded, and it's going to be looking gorgeous again soon. Here we have the Smoke Bush. This is Winecraft Black. Great foliage, dark color, and I love how that black foliage really stands out in the landscape against all these other different colors that we're seeing around it. The yellows and those blacks are really stunning together. Next, we have the Legend of the Fall, Wageyla. and that's a great plant for early season and late season. So something to look forward color in other seasons other than here in July. Look at these beautiful now pinker butterfly bush. Beautiful bright pink blooms, large blooms, and they look so nice in the garden up against the black here of the summer wine black Physocarpus. Here we have the Barberry Sunjoy Neo. Man, oh man, this plant, I just can't even say enough about it. Look at that intense red foliage. This plant really doesn't get flowers on it, but the foliage alone is amazing. The more sun it gets, the brighter red the foliage is. So definitely this is a plant you want to plant in your full sun garden because it's just going to look really great in that bright full sun, and it's going to really pop. Next, we have the Maimone Wagila. So this is a spring blooming shrub, and it's got great foliage, the green and the white. And then if we look at the tips here, they have a little bit of pink. So there's a lot of interest here in the foliage, even when this plant is not in flower. In the back, we've got more Pugster butterfly bush, always looking good. Here we have the Taxus. This is the Dark Druid. This is a shrub it's an evergreen shrub, and this is great. A lot of times you'll see these planted right up against houses as foundation plantings. These are evergreen, and they can grow in sun or shade. So you see the Taxus used a lot up against houses. Here we have the Crepe Myrtle. They're not quite blooming yet, but it's got really great dark foliage. So even when they're not in flower, the foliage is amazing. More Pugster butterfly bush. They just keep showing up in this garden. It's a plant that is always, let's just say, smiling and adding joy into the landscape. Here's another one of the oh so easy double red roses. You can see the bloom. It's red, but it does have a little bit of a magenta hue to it. So it's not really as red as the urban legend, but from a distance, it's a great red shrub. Here we have the Anna's Magic Ball. The chartreuse yellow is just stunning. These are evergreen. So if you're looking to add little pops of color out in the landscape, definitely Anna's Magic Ball will add the pops of color. And again, they look great with all the colors out in the garden. So nothing really clashes with that beautiful chartreuse green. In the back here, we've got more barberry. This is Sunjoy Sequins. Sunjoy Sequins has really unique foliage on it. We'll go and take a closer look here. It's kind of a green and white, and there's just little hues of pink as well. So it's different texture and different foliage to add out into the garden. It's not solid green, but it's not that chartreuse yellow either. So it just looks really nice. Here we have a Viburnum. This is all that glitters, so you'll need all that glows to get it to pollinate and to get the berries. Here you can see the berries are just starting to form. They're going to turn kind of a pinkish purple as the summer progresses and into the fall. More of the, actually no, this isn't mini Mauvette. This is the Invincible Ruby Hydrangea, and you can see the flowers are kind of starting to fade while the new ones are coming. So the brighter blooms are the newer blooms, and then the paler blooms are the ones that are on their way out, or what we call spent blooms. Here we have the Hibiscus Pillar series. These are the purple pillar. This is a Rosa Sharon that gets very tall but stays narrow. So they add great columnar height into the garden, and they're going to be blooming probably here in the next couple weeks or so. So they're more of a end of July, August bloomer. And when they do, they are just loaded with beautiful tropical looking flowers. Here we've got some of the little quick fire just starting to bud. Wajila, this is the Wagila spilled wine. Very compact and a little bit of a sprawling habit. Great dark burgundy black foliage. These bloom in the spring with pink flowers. But even when they're not blooming, the foliage adds a lot of interest here out into this garden. So if you're looking for some foliage interest, definitely this Wagila spilled wine will give you some interest as far as foliage. Let's go in and take a little bit closer look here at the little quick fire. Beautiful buds. just not quite blooming quite yet. Here's some Spirea. Spirea bloomed probably about 3-4 weeks ago. So these have some spent blooms on them, but the foliage here still looks really great. Let's take a step across the aisle and see what's blooming on this side of the garden. More Pugster Amethyst, gorgeous, large blooms, compact habit. And here we can see they're not planted quite as close together, so we can kind of see more the actual size of the plant in the landscape, kind of as singular plants. So they're only 2 foot tall and 2 foot wide, and they've got like really broad, thick foliage, where some of the other butterfly bushes, it's a lot narrower leaf structure. These are nice and thick, also very large blooms. Here we've got some of the now Let's Dance giddy hydrangeas. And you can see they're just a little bit past their prime, although there are some new blooms also starting to emerge. So we've got those beautiful hot pink blooms. These can also be turned shades of purple depending on your soil type and where you're located. The next plant we're looking at is the Wageyla Maimone Sunset. This plant isn't so much grown for its flower interest because it really doesn't do a lot with flowers. It's more all about the foliage. And just look at all that beautiful color going on. There's yellow, there's green, there's burgundy, there's pink. Just it's a sunset of color, as the name implies. So this plant would be one you're planting more for foliage interest. It's compact, really stunning. Here we've got some that aren't quite blooming yet. Next, we've got the Viburnum Steady Eddy. So this is one of the viburnums that blooms virtually throughout the summer. Really a lacy looking flower, compact habit. And look at all those blooms on there right now. So really a nice viburnum if you're looking for something small that gives flower color all season long. Got some, looks like Bobo hydrangea, some more Spirea. This is the candy corn Spirea, and you can see the mass planting was done here. The candy corn Spirea stays fairly compact. It's got great foliage color. Really, that yellow stands out predominantly. But then as you look at the tips, they've got kind of that orangey red tip on it. So definitely interest with the foliage. And this is it blooms pink as well. So there's interesting flower colors. Really a great plant to use for mass plantings. Here we have the Firelight Hydrangea. It's not quite firing yet, but it's just starting to open up with its beautiful white blooms. They'll be turning red as the summer progresses. We've got more of the Tater Tot. Here we have Sambucus. This is laced up. Really a quite whimsy looking plant. Nice columnar habit. Black serrated foliage. So if you're looking to add something that's just kind of whimsy or funky fun, laced up definitely would do that. Here we have the Invincible wee white hydrangeas. Looking really nice, very compact. Here we have the beautiful Spirea double play pink, and it's green foliage, but you can see too this has got nice kind of burgundy red tips on it, and then the beautiful pink flowers that bloom usually in June or so. And that's usually kind of a longer blooming shrub as well. Here we've got the beautiful smoke bush. Oh, this lime color. Look how pretty that looks up against the black there of the laced up. Actually, this is a great combination, these three plants, just the colors together. And now we've got another one of the mini mauvettes. You can see that we talked about this plant a lot throughout this garden. It's just a nice small plant that just really adds a bright, bold splash of color to any location out in the garden. So it does get used a lot just because it's such a nice addition. So hopefully you enjoyed this tour, and I think it's really interesting just how shrubs can be used in the landscape and giving color during all the seasons. I typically would have never thought before that shrubs could be used for all seasons of color, but this garden does a great job of showing beautiful color without one single annual or perennial being used. So hopefully you enjoyed this tour. Look for more coming soon. This is Heidi from Garden Crossings.